Hello and welcome to another one of my videos on the new PMP 2024 updates. In this video, we're going to talk about the relevance of organizational strategy and strategic planning. As you know, projects have become a lot more complex and project managers are required to have that kind of insight into what their organization does, what business they're in, and how their project fits into the overall organizational strategy. As such, this section was added and made important in the new PMP exam, and it contributes towards that 8% that makes up that business acumen that project managers are supposed to have. So just to refresh you on the breakdown of the questions on the PMP, 50% comes from ways of working, which is the old PIM Book 6 essentially. Majority of it is there in the PIM Book 6. 42% comes from the power skills, which is the people and soft skills. A lot of it was also in the old PIM Book 6, except for a few things related to teams and collaboration, which came with Agile, that was added later on. And 8% comes from business acumen, for which strategic alignment is a major component. So that's why you need to know what's in this video for your exam. So a few things you need to ask yourself to see how much you know about your organization. Do you know the organization's strategic plan? Do you know how your project fits into the organization's strategic plan and goals? Do you know how it connects to their mission and vision? A lot of projects are the output of a lot of strategic planning that the organization does at a high level, and then that's broken down into portfolios and then programs and projects and operational work so that they can deliver the mission that they said they were set up to do and the vision that they aim to achieve at some point. So your project could be contributing to that. And it is very important that you succeed so that your management can realize their mission and vision. Another thing you got to ask yourself is, how much do you know about the industry that your organization is in? I mean, if they're in IT, do you know what the IT world is doing these days? Do you know the trends? Do you know what's happening? Do you follow up on what is new? Do you follow up on what the competition is doing? Do you know where your organization makes money from? These are very important things that I think your leadership would expect you to know when they want to feel comfortable assigning you a project that, ties their money in it. In most organizations, the way it works is that they have a mission, which is what they've set out to do. They have a vision, which is where they want to get to in the next 5, 10, 20 years. But they want to get to that vision doing what they said they will do in their mission. And for them to execute that, they do strategic planning. They come up with some goals, things that they need to have achieved. And these goals are then broken down into objectives. The objectives are more quantifiable, measurable pieces. So if you want to think of the objectives as something else, they are the projects that get assigned to you. So these objectives could be a capability that they want to have, an office they would like to have in a specific location. Usually think about capabilities. So let's say a portal, an IT system, a data system, a communication system. All of these things are capabilities that allow them to get things done. And these are the things that get assigned to you as projects. Some of these projects are much bigger in context, and maybe they fit in the realm of a bigger program that requires multiple components to be accomplished so that the high level goal will be realized. Other than that, these projects could be part of a portfolio, maybe divided by territory. Or by the nature of work. So the IT portfolio, the construction portfolio, and those would hold projects of that type. IT portfolio holds a lot of IT projects, which could be in any area of the country. But if you want to go by territories for the portfolios, then all the projects that happen in Boston, whether they're IT, construction, or otherwise, will be in the Boston portfolio. So organizations will break down their projects into portfolios, and in the portfolios, they would have projects and programs. And sometimes, depending on the nature of the organization, they may have operational work that links into that. The operational work is the arm that actually delivers the results, the benefits, the profits, if you want, from the product that they build within the projects and programs. So if I develop a sales system, or let's say a customer relationship management, CRM system For my sales team, that's the project doing it, but then it's the sales team, which is part of operations, that is going to use that. So there is that trickle down all the way from mission, vision to strategic planning, goals, objectives, portfolio, projects, programs, and then operations. And down at the very bottom, there's the resources, the shared resources. What are the shared resources? Well, people and then money if you want. But there's other resources. Could be facilities, could be the fleet of cars that you have, could be all the cranes that you have, could be the offices that you have, the space, the warehouse, the computers. These are all resources. But think, if you want, just think about people and money. If you tie up your resources in one project, you hold them off from another project. If you tie up your money into one project, then that money is not going to be available in a different project at the same time because it's limited, right? $1, if you had $1 billion with a B, that's how much I have in my account, right? Maybe by tomorrow. So if you had $1 billion that you could invest and you took half of that and you put it on a project, then you only have $500 million that you can invest into other projects. So you see, you start to tie up your resources. And that's the role of a portfolio manager, to decide where those resources are going to go, which projects, which programs, which operational work, and so on. So when your project gets assigned to you, there's been a lot of thinking and planning. A business case has been done for what the return on investment is going to be, and that's when they gave it to you. So don't underestimate the effort that goes into initiating a project. Yes, I agree. Some projects are just like kind of silly, small. You sometimes wonder why it was even initiated. But other projects are super relevant to the organization, and there's a very good reason why they started that project. All right, so don't take it lightly. It's a responsibility. It's something you need to own up to, and you need to deliver successfully for your organization, and you got to take pride in doing so. Now, a lot of organizations have gone into something called OKRs, objectives and key results, which is similar to having goals and objectives. It's just named a little bit differently. So if you just Google OKRs, you'll see that the objective is the higher level thing that you want to achieve, and the key results are the KPIs that you need to have measured so that you can confirm that the objective has been met. So key results could be number of transactions, could be number of people that have adopted your solution, amount of sales that you've done. These are key results that are measurable, that usually have some sort of a timeline or something, but they are metrics, they're KPIs. And if those are being realized, then the higher level objective is realized. So it's another way of saying goals and smaller objectives that are measurable, right? Objectives and key results that are measurable. That's the way they look at it, OKRs. So it's another term that you need to know for the exam. Now, for a project manager, when it comes to strategic planning, a lot of times those decisions have already been done by the senior management. And by the time you get the project, they've already figured out why they need it. But have you ever wondered why they need it? In the PMP, they introduce some market studies that are very common and highly used in the business world. One of them being PESTLE, P-E-S-T-L-E, sometimes only spelled as PEST, P-E-S-T. No, I don't mean the person working next to you. PEST stands for political, economical, social, and technological. But sometimes you can add another L and an E. L would be legal, and the other E would be environmental. And they don't mean whether it's the ozone layer or something else. Environmental could be your surroundings, where your project has to run. Sometimes it is actually spelled as steeple with 3 E's if you add them up, S-T-E-E-P-L-E. So the other E that they added is ethical. So sometimes when an organization rolls out a project, which could be related maybe to a product or a solution, they have to ask themselves, how fitting is this ethically? And if you think about it, when we talk about cloning humans, there's ethical questions there. And I won't get into the other examples because ethics sometimes are questionable to some people, and it could be tied down to beliefs or what you are anchored to, so I don't really want to get into that. But you usually use the PESTLE, and that is a good way to assess a solution across multiple perspectives. Another one that is commonly used is the TECOP, TECOP, and that stands for Technical, Environmental, Commercial, Operational, and Political. So you see there are overlaps there in some of the perspectives. One more that is highly used is VUCA, VUCA, and that stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So this one is more focused on risk, while the other ones are more about the market studies. I mean, they're all market studies in some ways, but they allow you to understand how your solution is going to fit in that environment around you. So some of the techniques that you need to be familiar with. Now, I don't know if you really need to be a specialist in these, but project managers who are seasoned, have gone through a lot of projects, have contributed maybe to business cases or even in generation of ideas at some point, will become familiar in some of these techniques. So, they will use techniques such as comparative advantage analysis, where we compare one product or one project solution versus another solution. Try to see which one is better than the other. Sometimes we use feasibility studies, and feasibility means doability. We want to see how doable something is. So we say, is it socially feasible? Is it politically feasible? Is it economically feasible? Can we afford it? Financially feasible? Schedule, is it feasible schedule-wise, resource-wise, time-wise? So there are a lot of ways we look at it to see if we're able to complete the project. So that's feasibility studies. They also do SWOT analysis, which I think most people are familiar with: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And not required for the PMP, but you can crisscross the SWOT and the PESTLE. So you can look at your strengths politically, economically, socially, technologically. You get my drift, right? And your weaknesses likewise, politically, economically. And then once you do that, you can come up with a better strategy on how to make your project more successful. So SWOT analysis, another technique that is widely used. The others that are commonly used as well would be assumptions analysis, because it would be kind of silly for us to assume some things that we have not really confirmed and then just go ahead and invest into a project not knowing for sure whether these assumptions are valid. So you have to analyze your assumptions. You have to see how much you know about these assumptions. Do you have recent data, enough data? Do you feel confident? Because I'll tell you what, if you don't have confidence in that assumption and you're not really sure about it, then it's really not an assumption. What is it? It's a risk. So then maybe you want to list it as part of your risk. Other things that we do is we look at historical analysis. We look at stuff that we've gone through before to try to better understand what could likely happen on this project, to even estimate the resources required, the time required, the money required for us to be able to get through this project. And finally, and this is not the least important, this is actually one of the most important one, risk analysis. When we initiate a project, we have to have a very good understanding of the risks involved. What could go wrong, and how likely is that project to fail? Could it go above the risk threshold or appetite of your organization? Does your organization like to get into such initiatives that feel that risky? So you have to evaluate the level of risk that exists in that specific project. Mind you, a lot of these studies are usually done by portfolio managers, business analysts, and others like that before that project comes to you. But there are instances that they expect you to understand the studies that have been done, so that when changes are required or issues are faced on your project, you are better equipped to react and not neglect the reasons that the project was initiated for. Speaking of that, it is very important for the project manager to stay in touch with what's going on inside the organization. So a lot of times you rely on the steering committee or governance board or your sponsor for the project to keep you up to date on strategic changes or shifts that are happening within the organization, and any major moves that the organization is making. A lot of times these major shifts that they do, or major moves, acquisitions and so on, or changes in direction or vision, could affect that project that you've been assigned. And that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed and you like this type of video and maybe working on your PMP exam, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button now. Don't forget to like and share your video with friends that you feel will benefit from this video. I would also like to know your feedback. If you have any comments, please go ahead, put them down below in the comment section and I'll be happy to read those and respond to them. Just a reminder that if you would like to have access to the 900 sample questions which are in my 5 full mock exams on Udemy, all you have to do is join my channel membership and become a Member Plus member. And once you become a Member Plus, you'd have free access to those mock exams, 5 full mock exams, 900 questions. Those would help raise the level of confidence in taking the exam and increase the chances that you'll pass at the first attempt. All right, that's it for now. Thank you so much. See you later. Bye-bye.